Hello Natroners, and welcome back to another episode of VFX with Natron. So, today is the second part. Who knew this was going to be two parts of the Valentine's Day title sequence? And yeah, so we should go over what today's goal is. Obviously, we did the tunnel on the last episode, so today, obviously, we're going to focus on doing the end of the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel, the day, and anyway, and also the actual title. I mean, it is a title sequence, so we kind of want to have some titles. Anyway, let's take a look at it again so we can see where we're going. Alrighty, so we're over here. We're looking at the font again. The font is called Tangerine. That is the font we're going to be using today. And I mean today, not like last time where we was working on just doing the tunnel mostly, and and we had to shoot Natron because well, it was acting up. Anyhow, it's Tangerine. Links in the description. Let's keep moving. So this is where we left off last time, and you notice it's black. The reason it's black is because we had put in the background for our title sequence here, and it's black, and you'll notice that I made it black. But the actual end of our tunnel is over here on the left-hand side. If we select this node and select it in... we should probably... Hopefully this doesn't crash on me, or just did something bad. Well, we'll see. All right, so there it was. I dropped it down to 2. We're going to shift that to back up to 8 here for the moment. We're going to set it about 8. Yeah, that'll work. All right, because we really don't have to see it super duper clean at this point. So we get the idea. Now, I do want to point out one thing, which is that anybody who's looked at this says, well, but poor Bill. The spacing of the hearts, this is just to make sure we're clear on this, the spacing on the hearts is not the same as what we had in the actual video. And that's because we haven't actually scaled the heart up in size. Watch what happens here if we double click on this on our roto, and this is one of the reasons that we use the roto. If we go over to the transform here, select our ellipse, and set it to 2, this is going to change the entire depth of our animation. And this is actually what... I redesigned this, by the way, so that it didn't, between the episode that didn't happen, that nobody saw, and the one that we just had 2 days ago, so that it actually worked at, instead of 3 times the size, it worked at 2 times the size, because this is actually catered towards that, because I felt it was still big enough that it cleaned up nicely, and you'll notice that this is the proper size. So if you're wondering, and we can make it actually 3 times the size, we'll just do that just for a second, just so we can see. And you can see every time we make it bigger, we make the tunnel shorter, or it seems like it's shorter, because we'd have to push it further back. But we make it shorter, which makes it look like it's, the tunnel's closer, but it also makes the ribs of the tunnel look like they're closer to us. Anyhow, let's go back down to 1, because that's where we're at, and it's a ways off. Not a big deal. I just wanted to make sure people were clear. It won't really affect us for what we're doing. All right, so back here, let's go over here. We can close that. So the first thing we need to do is we actually need to bring the heart back in. Because we're doing, what we're gonna do is put a merge node off of this, and into the A input we're gonna just come over here, and we're gonna go period link up to this version of the heart, so we can see let's grab that, select it. This is the blurry version of the heart. You know what? I'm going to drop this down to 2 because 2 ought to look fine at this size, and we can still see the detail. We're going to have to change it when we do the hearts in the gimmick hearts. But, all right, let's, like, line that up over here, and we'll... Whoa! Oh, I clicked on something I didn't mean to click on. Hopefully I didn't actually launch that. So you're right. We want that over there coming down like this, and then we're gonna bring it, and we're gonna control. Whoops. Excuse me. Oh. Uh-oh. I don't have my hotkeys on. 1 second. Whoop. Want to make sure you guys can see the hotkeys. Boom. There we go. So you can see what I'm doing. So we just we put a period in there, and now we're gonna hold down Control and drag off this way, and then this is going to go into the merge node right here. All right. So we'll just shift that over like so. There we go, and pull that up a little bit. So what we're gonna do here is we have this coming in from the background. We want to ensure that we're gonna do a few things here. First of all, because depending on whether we scale this up or not, that it's going to impact this. So we need to have a way when we scale this up that we can shrink it back down to this size, so that when we blur it, that it can go, so that we can shrink it back down to this size, so that when it blurs, we still have the heart shape as a cloud in the background. So we need to add a transform node right here. This is only there right now because we're dealing with this at a 1-to-1 scale, as opposed to a 2-to-1 scale. We're keeping this at basically at this size, and we'll just push this up a little bit so we don't actually have to do anything with this. But again, if we double the size, we'd have to put this to 0.5. If we triple the size, we'd have to take it down to 33% or something around there, however big you want to make it. So this makes the first part. Then we need to blur this. I want to make sure, or at least I'm 99% sure I did a blur. I gotta find this in the... there it is. Did I do that? That's weird. I thought I did a blur. More of a blur. Oh, I didn't actually connect it to that one. I actually took it from a different one. Instead of that one, I took it from this point, which is still beforehand, but it's a bit bigger and it's a bit more blurred, and it just saved the trouble. You know what? I think I would rather put a blur in here and control it manually, because that looks just to be a bit too much blur, in my opinion, to get what we want. I think we're going to do a separate blur for it. So this time we're going to deviate from what my existing project says and put our blur after this transform node. So we're going to put a blur here, and or we could put the blur before, but we only have to put it, I think we're going to put it at 200, because I want it to be, I still want it to be readable as a heart in the background. All right, so we create this. This is supposed to look like a cloud, so it needs to be sort of soft, but we don't want it to be so soft that we lose the cloud shape, which is what was happening when we had it at 400. Then what we're going to do is put a radial over this. All right, and that tab didn't take, so we got to wait until Natron responds to this. Come on, Natron. There we go. Radial, and we'll put this radial on top of that. And what we're going to do is set the color of the radial to this blue right here, and then we're going to take this and we're going to set its size from 1920. We're basically going to, I'm going to set this times, you know what, what I did is I just set it to 4,000 by 3,000. That's weird. Huh. Well, it'll make sense. 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's 400. That's why. I was like, that's not 4,000. 400 by 3,000. Well, 4,000 by 3,000, not 400. And then once we've done that, we just click on the center, and that puts it right in the smack dab in the center, and we wind up with soft corners. You know, I think that might be, well, we wind up, it winds up, yeah, I can live with that. You can reduce this down a little bit more. I think I might have done in the last one 2000. Let's just center that. It gives a little bit more. We get to see more of the heart shape, and it stands out a bit more, and it gives it darker corners and makes the background look a little more interesting. All right, so there we go. We get this kind of, we're just basically, the radial is creating the illusion that this is a cloud, a heart cloud kind of shape, just like a ring cloud, puff of smoke on a sky background with you know, atmospheric like effects going on it. It just makes it look cool. Or a vignette, and that the edge vignette will also help the hearts, when we have that, put the hearts in, stand out a bit more. But this is basically all there is to this. Now we are also going to put in, I'm going to leave a little space here because we're going to be putting in a we're going to put in oh, I'm a bit tongue-tied. We're going to be putting in the disk cache nodes this time. I want to leave space because, truth be told, it's not complete unless we put them all in, and you all don't know necessarily where this is all going to be going. So we need to, we should go over that as well. But for right now, we're not going to do that. We're going to focus on more bits. And this also raises the point that we, I didn't want to disconnect that. Let's see, reconnect that. I meant to grab this dot node and push it up a little bit because I want to push these out of the way a little bit. Doesn't really matter. This is just so that we have room to do other things down here. We can reroute this a little bit, make it cleaner, the transition down here. Boop, we'll just zigzag it a bit or something. I don't know. This is a little weird, but whatever. Just make it nice and readable. There. That just buys us some space to work with. All right. Oh no, it's nitpicky, unnecessary. In fact, I don't need that one. I'm fine with having it like that. All right, so we're gonna do select here, and we're gonna hit another merge node, and we're gonna pull it over this way, and this is going to be our hearts. All right, so we need to get a gimmick hearts. So we hit tab, we hit HEALT. And we can see there's the heart, which is broken, as I explained in the last one. Otherwise, we'd be using it. And then there's hearts. Now, when we do hearts and we connect that up here, we can see nothing happened. And at first, people might think, oh, it's broken. And it's not broken. It's the fact that that hearts requires us to use an actual. We need to provide it an actual source because it's building the hearts based off of the source. So just for example, if we did color bars, let's do color bars, that's not color bars. There we go. Did I not hit the right thing? Color bars. No. Color bars. There we go. All right, so there's a color bars. If we take that and pop it in as a source, and we would have needed to see it over here, but if we just disconnect it, we can see that it actually wasn't doing anything. We connect it up to this, and we can see that the hearts actually use whatever. They basically create transparency wherever the background object was. And I believe when we do this, I think we can like set it to do like change. I actually haven't really figured out what all these duplicate top things. I do know that they changed the patterning in it, but I didn't really find much about this other than the fact that that the hearts, if we that it changes the pattern of the hearts. All right, so the big thing there is a big takeaway here, however, which is that our resolution, these scale with whatever our resolution is. So if I, for example, set this to like 16, all right, and then we're to disconnect this and then reconnect this, or yeah, there we go. If we disconnect it and reconnect it, whatever the source resolution it sees as, it rebuilds it based off of that, which makes it impossible to actually judge this properly unless we're not looking at it at a lower resolution. We can see, boop, just changing that, it messes it up. And if we change this to like 8, it changes it. Now it's rendered it correctly temporarily. All right, so it's doing it right on 8 this time. It's like, it's weird. It doesn't do it consistent. It has to do with, it actually must have cached it or done something. Anyhow, because it is working in 8, maybe we'll try going with it. Anyway, we don't actually want to use a color gradient in the background. What we want to, or a color bars in the background. What we want to use is we're going to use a solid, I think. Did I use a solid or did I use a constant? Let me just double check this. Yeah, I used a solid. Just want to make sure. It doesn't really matter because Gimmick does its own thing. We can see it's black up, and see now it's drawing it at an 8th. It's, as I say, it's inconsistent. So anyway, we'll turn this off and we'll see it correct. Now the other problem, all right, let's put in our color. We're going to actually pick, because this is what we're going to do in a short bit, we want this to be as vibrant as possible to read as pink. And the problem is it's got to fight a wee bit against the blue. So we want to actually give it a more of a purpley color than pink. But we are going to, well, it's not going to be perfectly purple. We're going to make it, let me get the actual color I used. I ended up using, I used point, actually we're going to hit OK here, and we're going to do it manually over here in the colors. We're going to do, for the green, we're going to put it to point 2, because again, what we want, the reason we're adding a value to each one of the colors is so that that they can add up. If there's no green, we can never push this to white, and I want this to look like the hearts blow out to white, because one of the things that happens with both film and with digital cinema cameras and digital cameras in general is that when you get up to their maximum value, once you get the closer you get to maximum saturation, you can actually see it in the background that the highlights start turning from the color of the actual source image to a white, or they shift towards a whitish hue or a desaturated hue, whereas their glows retain their original color. And the problem is if you don't give it some form of value there, if they just remain 0, then they can never get to white because there's nothing to keep adding to. Thus, it doesn't actually mimic reality. So we need to give it some value. It doesn't have to be a high value. It just has to be some value in order for these things to work like lights. And I want these hearts to kind of look like little miniature lights. All right, so next thing, oh yes, there's one other thing we need to do with this, which is we're going to be making these fall. So this is a lot like our fire episode where we did the fire, and for those who didn't see it, what we did in the fire episode is we basically doubled the height. So we switched this for the extent from default, which is going to be 1920 by 1080 because this is HD. We're going to change it from 1920 by 1080. We're just going to go take that 1080 and multiply it times 2, which will double its height, and we can see the ROD is doubled. And then what we're going to be doing after this is down on the hearts. The first thing we need to do is, without this set to 8, so that we have this down, we're going to set this, I think, to 0.1. Yes, we're going to take the density from 2, which is default, down to 0.1, which reduces the amount of hearts that we have on screen at any given time. So there's more space for these things to have a little breathing room for falling. And then after we've done that, we're going to go and we're going to add there's a couple of things here. Now, we want to make this glow, and there's a couple ways we could go about this. We could actually use a glow node on this, but we're dealing with something that's twice the height of our view. So I don't really want to, the bigger things are, the bigger your image is when you apply a glow to it, the longer the glow takes to process. So because this is twice the height and we're going to be pinning it down, we're going to fake our glow. And the way we're going to fake our glow is just using two blurs. We're going to take, so we're going to take a blue, I think, let me just verify this one more time to make sure I did this correctly. For this, what we're going to do, all right, yes, we're going to put two blurs in here. We're going to take blur 1, blur, we're going to put a blur in here, and we're going to set the first blur to a blur value of 4. This is going to be our lightest blur, so we retain our heart shapes. We can see here, let's look at that before and after. So we hit D to deselect it. See, this is the problem. We zoomed in and Natron readjusted the hearts so that they're the same size no matter what. So just to make this, you know what? Let me think about this. We're going to go to 1 to 1, and then we're going to go back to the gimmick hearts for a second. And for the just for the moment, actually, no, we're going to set it to 200%. There we go. Oh, there. It looks like it's correct now. All right, so 200%, we're seeing it. We're seeing the hearts a little bit better. So when we deselect this, we'll see that it blurs it out a little bit. So we still have something that's sort of heart-shaped, but it's not as heart-shaped as it was. It's softer on the edge. And then what we want is to add a second blur. So we'll just copy this blur and pipe it right back into the same thing. And on this second blur, we'll just go over here. And we're going to take this second blur and set this one to a 17, right? 17, which is going to be our outer glow. So this is actually going to be the glowy bit. And the way that we are going to get this to work is we're going to, I just want to make sure I've got everything set up correctly. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to merge the blurred one. Okay, we're going to hit an M with the more blurred one over the other one, which is going to result in this, where we have, it's kind of hard to see at this point, but we have the brighter heart, or the more defined heart, is slightly brighter than the glow itself. And the way then, but they're not actually looking like they're glowing. And the way we're going to actually make them glow is we're going to add a multiply after this. So we're going to go mult. And what the multiply will do is, as we bring this up, it will cause it's basically multiplying. Oh, there is one other thing. We want to add these two together. We want to change this from the merge from over to plus. All right, which doesn't look like it's done much, but it's basically taking what's already there with the glow and it's adding that on top of what's already there, which pushes the center points towards white and will make the centers bloom out a little bit quicker, or turn them to white a little bit faster. All right, so then we're going to take the multiply, and I think I brought it up, 5 times. So we just take that and we'll bring it up slowly. And as we bring this up, we can see when I get up to 4, bring it up to 5, and there we go. We get little bitty hearts, glowy hearts in the middle with white around the edge. And over the blue, they look a lot more white than they should. But over on the edges where it's blackish, we wind up with something that's more pinkish, because that white, that overblown or desaturated version of it, is getting added on top. And so we wind up with something that's more of a pink than a purple. Anyway, so that's how it looks. Let's look at this full size, and yeah, that's not really, let's look at it. This should be what we wind up with. There we go. That's about what we're going to wind up with, our actual, final, once it's all done, minus this is obviously just a redraw issue. Woo, and that's a, whoa. Oh, I hit B by accident. So we were looking at the blue channel. All right, so there we go. That is what it's going to look like. Now, we have one, or actually we have a couple more things. We want to, and this is why, all right, maybe we want to actually pull those other ones out of the way a little bit more. We'll just do, I don't know, that, and we'll pull this over here like that, so it's out of the way. Might end up pulling this down a little bit more because we're going to be doing text in a little while, after we do some other text. So here's where we would add, this is where we would add in a disk cache. So let's just do that for right now, because this is a simple thing. We're going to disk cache this, and we would set the frame range to manual, set it from first frame and last frame to 1, and then we would put in a frame hold. We've done this a few times in the past. And note that these are not going to hook up into our graph by default. We want to set the first frame to 1 and that there's no increments so that it remains there. And so there we go. And now it's cached. And that means that what that means is it's only going to draw this one time and then it's going to store it. And it's superimposing because this is, if we look at this in its default state, at this point it's just the hearts with their glows around it, glowing hearts. So we have these glowing hearts and they're just going to be superimposing on top of our sky background. So with that in mind, all we have to do is transform what we have as a result from the hearts, which is applying on something that's twice the height, and make it move down by basically half the height. So we add a transform node here, and we go to the make sure we're on frame 1. We're going to, on the Y translate, we're going to set a key, all dimensions. Doesn't matter. We could do it on 1 dimension or all dimensions. We can go to the end, and then we tell it that we want the Y to move minus 9 or 1080. We want it to go minus 1080, which should shift it all the way down to the bottom, as we can see here. If we rewind it and hit play, we can sort of see it going, and we can see our hearts falling. Now, admittedly, the density doesn't look right because, again, the gimmick node is fixed. It sees this. It renders at whatever the viewport is. The hearts always render or whatever their actual size is. So this density is misrepresenting of the actual density when it renders out, because it's going to render out at this density but with more hearts all around. So that's the key. That's a crucial thing to understand about this node, is it's one of those nodes that doesn't actually scale. So there we go. We know what that does and why it's happening. Anyhow, we can see this is moving, it moves down, and that creates our falling glowy hearts. All right, next we need to, we're going to put a merge node in here. Whoops. Wrong spot. Let's rehook that up. Let's move this over. Connect that there, this there. This is where we're going to be putting our text in, and we're probably going to put the text information actually down below here, because we have one more section. After this is all composited, we need to actually do our text over all of this. So we're going to shift back on our 8th of the view, and we're going to look at this from the beginning, like this, which is, it looks wrong. Don't worry about it. Again, if we unhook this, this should redraw correctly. Should redraw correctly. It's going to take it a minute. There we go. We can see it. We can see our heart backgrounds in there going on. So, but don't worry. This is just because it's a glitch of how this is drawing, because of Natron's taking shortcuts to make this work. So just know, don't evaluate it based off of the fact we're looking at this at a low resolution. We're doing that only for the preview. All right, so we're going to be merging this in the background. We're going to, whoops, that didn't take. All right, let's try that again. Let's hit merge. There we go. All right. Oh, and there's one other thing we need to do to this entire chain, which is back here at the first one from our solid, where we started off with our black, then we went to our heart over it, which is not showing up correctly due to the render issue. We want to tell it that the bounding box is going to be B, which is going to be our solid background, which is our HD resolution. This is going to auto crop out the rest of the heart. Then we're going to go to the next one, the next merge, and we're also going to tell this one that we want the bounding box to be B, because we want we don't want all that excess from the stuff. from the gimmick node, the hearts drifting down. We don't need all that after we've composited it over the background. We just need the result. Then we're going to, obviously, when we get back here to the next one, this is going to be our text. We can also tell it here that this is going to be using the B. We're basically going to keep this chain going. This is going to be cropping everything. So nothing gets, we don't want anything to end up using anything but our background. So we're going to just keep following that all the way down to the end. And we did it already here. So this is where we are. We'll make sure we're connected up here. This is where the text is going to come in. All right, so now we need to, let me get in my preview. I want to find it. We're going to do text. All right, so we're going to go over here to the right of this a bit. We can go up a little right about here. We're going to hit tab, and we're going to put in text. To put a text drawer in there, and on this text drawer, we're going to put in, this is where we need our font. So, you download the font, put it in your folder, and hopefully if it's in your folder at the right spot, I hope I put it in the you'll see it, you'll find it in your episode. Yeah, you'll have a tangerine, and we're going to select, we clicked on the file picker for text, it says, wait a minute, no, that's the wrong thing. Oops. Wrong thing, not that one. Sorry, down here, we want to click on custom font, click on that. And then we go here and we look in the tangerine folder and we select tangerine bold, and that will do it. That will bring it up. Now it's in our, it's loaded it into our fonts. So now we have to actually select the font by going to select font. We go here, go down to T, and in there we'll see tangerine, and there's tangerine. Now tangerine, we want this to be center interacted. And we also are going to turn off this, actually, because we need it to be bigger. We are going to set the font size to, I want to make sure all right, this font size, according to mine, we want to set this to 330 for the font size, which makes it nice and big. And we're going to just type in happy right here. All right. And then we're going to clone this. So we're going to hit Alt-K to clone this, which is going to shove that way off in the middle of nowhere. Always annoying. We put that back here, like so. And for this one, obviously, we're going to right-click. We're going to double-click on the clone. We're going to right-click where it says happy and unlink it. And we're going to say for the clone that we want the clone to be at, we want the clone to be, Valentine, sorry, I was thinking about something else. Valentine, apostrophe S, Valentines. And there we go, and we can look at that, and it looks good. Now, by unlinking the two, this makes it easier. We're going to use a technique we've used in the past, but we're going to do it the right way this time, which is over. We'll go back to our happy. We're going to hit a T to get a transform node, and we're going to again clone it. So we're going to hit Alt-K, zoom out, find that thing wherever it put it. Natron. I wish you put it on the mouse like every other node out there. And we're going to take that, and now it really doesn't matter which order we merge these in, but we'll just do, I had the transform 4, or the clone first, doesn't really matter, but we want to select them both. All right, so what are we going to be doing here? We need to actually change our properties so that it is 2, because we need to see both transforms simultaneously. We need to see the clone, and we need to see the original. Now, what we're going to do is on the clone, we're going to just unlink the two transforms, the two vertical transforms from the other one. That way, everything else should line up. But we want we just want those parts to be disconnected. And this will allow us to offset our happy if we wanted to. There's 2 ways we could do it. But we're going to see why we're going to do it we're not actually going to be moving an X wall. It'll make sense in a minute, or at least should. So what we're going to do is we're going to, on our second one, we're going to right click on the Y on our clone, and we're going to say set expression. And we're going to minimize that so all we see here is this, and we're going to hold down control, and on our original transform we're going to left click drag the entry or the Y value into here, and it's going to give us that, and we're going to just multiply that times -1. And then because, well, let's start with this. We'll leave it at -1 for right now because we're going to change this in a bit, and it'll make sense. But what this is going to do, if we undo this, so we can see the I think we can. Wait a minute. You guys aren't even seeing me. Oi, I've been off of the screen. Oi, that's a... well, I've been... all this animated chit chat and I haven't even been on the screen. Well, there we go. I'll need to check me on feed. All right, so we see over here that here's our expression over here, and we have this up here. What we're going to do is, as we move the one up, the happy up, the top one is our happy, we'll notice that the bottom one goes down by the same amount. So if we set this to 50, and we stop moving this in 10% increments, we can move this up and down until we get to something like this. 180 looks pretty good. Let me just double check how much I moved it up. 240. So I want to move this up to 240. So we're going to set this to 240 for our vertical, and you're saying to yourself, wow, that's a long way up, Bill. Why are we moving it that far up? Well, this isn't slanted. Now, I could slant this in the transform node, but that's not necessarily going to... well, we can try it. We can try... let's see. We'd skew it. I think I skewed it up 0.2. Oops. Excuse me. I'm slanting the wrong thing. Skew it up. Y 0.2. Yeah, that works all right. You know what? That's not too bad, but it looks off to me. Yeah, I didn't do it this way here. Wait a minute. Is this right? This is looking very wrong to me. I'm getting a different value. You know what it might be? It might be because the 240 could be because I was dealing with this at a higher resolution. We may pull this back. There's one other thing we need to do first, which is I didn't actually do this on the transform node, the skewing. I did it on the text node itself. And the reason I did it on the text node is because we need to offset the H so that it matches. And the way I did I actually offset it here was I did it stupidly simple. I just put a couple spices here to offset it, and then I skewed it. I just did the skew on the Y like so, and yeah, it's definitely not quite the same, but I just did it. Did it the cheesy simple way. I think I even put one more. Yeah, that looks good right about there. Few spices. But we need to drop this down because it's too far up. I want this tail from the Valentines to go into that P. So I brought this down. We'll bring this down until... Nope, we need one more space here after the happy. There we go. And that should... let's bring it down a little wee bit more. It's not a perfect match. All right, well, there's an easy way to fix it, which is why we do this. We can move this over on the x-axis a little bit. So we could move this on the x-axis, get it to line up and so forth. I like it right. I wanted the P, the tail of that P, of the first P to go, not quite touch the L, but I want that L. I liked how it connected to the P on the happy. So there we go. It's good enough for our needs. If it doesn't satisfy you, you can adjust that. But the big problem is that when we look at the space above it and below it, it feels like, or at least to me, it feels like there's more space above it than below it, and it's actually partially an optical illusion, because of the fact that the lowercase letters reside lower than the top of the H. It actually puts the vast majority of the weight down towards the bottom of the screen. So we need to actually increase this up. So what I did back here on my transform node is I've right clicked on this and I went into that expression that we had made earlier. We edit that, and I just, at the end of this, I just said I want to add another 100 to that, which is why this is 280 versus 180. And when we do that, we'll see that that shifted it all up. And then we notice that, oh, now it's too high, which says that if we put this back up to 280, now we ought to see why. Oh, no. All right. It's still, was it 280? No. Hold on. What did I say it was? 240, not 280. So bring this down to 240. Nope, it's still too high. We'll just bring it down like about there. All right, so there we go. We have something in there. It looks good. I like how it's coming in and touching, and I like how it's all lined up. It's a little bit far over to the left, but it's not bad. It looks good. And we can see that that increased. You know what? Did I do that right? Edit expression, that doesn't look... Oh, it did plus 10. It wasn't plus 100. I was like, it should have been higher than that. There we go. Now it's off by the... And this, if we put this up to 240, there we go. Now we're getting what I had before. All right. Helps if we type in the right values. So there we go. Now the space here feels about the same as the space up here. It just feels more centered vertically, visually. All right, so there we go. We have this. So now that we have this, we need to do a few more things. We need to, of course, we want to make this glow. Well, in this case, because this is just text A, which renders very, very quickly, and it's done at 1080. This is what the resolution that we're doing this at is. Because it's at this resolution, all we have to do is put a glow on this, and we should be fine, because this is also white. White glows really, really easily by just putting in a glow. So we type in glow, and lo and behold, we should wind up with a nice, perfect glow. That's all we need. Everything's good. In fact, this is a little high. We can just put that like that. Let's make sure this is all like that. All right, so there we go. We have it glowing. Now we're going to, of course, do a disk cache. So, in fact, you know what? We don't even have to create a new disk cache. We'll just take the two over here, grab this. We've already got these set up. So we're going to hit Alt-C to copy those, and then pull those over here. And we're going to stitch that in there, stitch that in there, and that should allow it to be cached. And now we need to, after that, we need to put in our transform node. So let me get my, right, our card 3D. We need to do our card 3D. So we're going to do a card 3D. And now this is where it gets a little tricky, and we're going to have to, at this point, I'm just debating what the best way to deal with this is. I think the best way we're going to deal with this, oh, we're getting some errors up here on our card 3D. We need to stitch in, because we need to deal with this at the actual resolution. Well, do we need to? Well, I think it's going to help by seeing this at our actual resolution than working with it in the non-resolution. So we're going to actually, I think we're going to duplicate these, put in a couple cache nodes in here. So we're going to go Alt-C, cache that, take these cache nodes and put them in, weave these in here multiple times. So we have this one here is going to go on the main thing. Don't worry about the warnings. That's just Natron. There was something went wonky. We'll just take that. We're going to put one there. We're going to put one over here. We'll put it on this side. And then I think we also want one over here. Yes, we're going to want one over here. All right, so there's going to be 3. So we're going to take this, and we're going to pull this up here. We're going to connect this up to the insert it here for this branch that's coming down like that. I think we got one. Oh, and we're going to want one over here as well. Let's hit Alt. Uh-oh. Did I? Nope, I don't have those. Let's just Alt C this over here, put this here. We just want to basically disk cache pretty much everything. All the branches of the heart coming down into it so that we're using as little resources. Anything that's a still, basically. Anything that doesn't have to move or prior to it moving. This is only moves up here for positioning. It's not actually moving. There's no reason to... Actually, let me think about this. We don't actually need to cache it here. We can actually cache it after this point. Now that I'm thinking about it, we can take this and put the cache down here. So it's even better. This should work better. So if we connect this here, like so, it's a little, we had to make a little room. Let's just put that and that like that so we can pull this back over, get it all snappy and nice. There we go. So that will allow that to, what that's going to do is it's going to cache our background at this point. So it's going to cache that so that it can put the cached version of this, which is animated, on top of it. So we can't cache after that point, but we can cache the thing before we animate those little hearts. And we've cached the background. So those two will draw much faster. Then we're up here before our card 3D up here. This is a card 3D, so this is a transform. Let's shift this back down so that we're not looking at more than one node at a time. So we can take this, and this disk cache just sits in here so that this over here, this heart will... this is also a stationary object, I believe. Oh no, it's stationary before this point. Then it comes the card 3D. So we want the card 3D to just be transforming the resulting animation. Over here, again, here's the card 3D. This has got that was a false warning. We just take it, we connect this card 3D up between those two nodes. And again, over here, this is where, if we look over here, this is our heart that comes in. This is going to be coming in and, oh, that's a heart. We're going to just weave that in like so. We can, you know what, we might just put it down like that just because there's not a heck of a lot of room over here. I don't know. I'm trying to make it fit, but it's a little bit tight. Maybe we'll do a little zigzag here too. It's not the best flow, but it saves us from rearranging our graph too much. I'll probably adjust that before I distribute this to people. This one, we might be able to fit the stuff in. Let's see, we can pull this down a little bit. And put that in like so. There we go. All right, there we go. So we've got all these things cached. And then we can't obviously cache it after the card 3D node because it's all moving, which means all of these have to actually take place. So that should give us enough cached information. Let's just save all project. Let's save a new project version just to be on the safe side. That way, if I have to restart this for some reason, we don't have to rebuild everything. All right, so we'll go down here and look at the end. And hopefully we get to see this, and we're looking at it, and we saw how much faster that drew. All right. Now that's weird. We said 8, and then we drop it off of 8, and this is not redrawing the cache back here. So let's go over here. Let's maximize this, set this to 1, and then do a redraw. There we go. Hopefully, by doing that, we will cause that to create a cache, which will hopefully be retained. And we're not going to worry about it if it doesn't. Oh well. And then we just put that over, and we'll take a look at what our card 3D looks like on top of that. And there is the result, but we need to do the actual animation. So what we want to do is pick a time. All right, let's go back in time. Now, we're at the start of this animation, and we don't, as I said, I've offset this. So the reason I've offset this is I want our in my original one, I had the Happy Valentine start at the very start of it, because that's where I felt, otherwise I didn't feel it had enough time on the screen. So I'm going to, but in this version of it, we've given it a second of time. So we're going to shift our time units to, or time skip units to 24. We're going to go ahead 24 frames. And this is the point where we're going to actually create our first point for this transform of this card 3D node. So we're gonna for the moment, we're just gonna, on the z-axis, we're gonna just set a key here. This is going to be, okay, good. I was worried for a moment. So this is not what we're going to end at. We want to go forward in time, however many frames, and see which one of the, how many basically rings have come forward to, and where they lie at that point in time. Because then we have to offset it backwards in time so that the Happy Valentines comes at the same pace, or roughly the same pace, as our tunnel coming forward. Otherwise, it looks weird. So let's see. We want to, in my opinion, we want to give this about 1 second to come into focus, and then I think we want to have it go stay on screen for about 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3. Let's see where we are. That might be too far. Nope, that's too far. So we're gonna go back back a little bit here. You know what? I might actually make our whole animation a little bit longer because we've offset it in time, and I don't know that I actually offset the end of the animation in time. So, right, we're going to go back up here to our main card 3D. Just double click on this. This is the Hearts card 3D. We're going to go to our dope sheet. Let's, so I think this ends, right, this ends at 97. We're going to go one further out on that, which is 121. And frame 121, we're just going to go into our dope sheet and just grab the frame that is currently residing here, which is 97, and bring this up to 121. And that's going to make it so that this lasts just a little bit longer. And so it will feel like we have more time on the screen. It's going to make the whole overall animation a little longer, and the stuff that happens afterwards little happen at different times, but I think it's going to look better overall. All right, so this is too far. If we go back in time to 97, I don't think we are, I think it's too soon. So, or actually, no, I think this is a good spot to start doing our fade out. And we're getting some weirdness in the back there with the hearts, but we're not going to worry about that. That's compositing in a really weird way, but it's all good. It's all good. Just looks weird. So what we want to do is say, aha, so where is this relative to what we've got on the screen? And I'm going to just say this right now. This looks really weird to me because it's hard to give it a good judgment. I think, but actually, no, I think we've got it. So we're on the last, based off of this, based off of what I'm seeing here. Actually, no, wait a minute. Let me think about this. Yes. Oh, wait a minute. No. This is where it's fading out. We don't want that. We want this to, let's go back to the beginning, to the start, to the first frame. So it's starting off back here. It's going to take 1 second to get to us. So we're going to go forward 1 second. So this is the point. This is the point that we want to have it sort of... Did it update? It didn't look like it updated to me. There it is. Okay, it did update. So this is how far forward it's come in space. So we need to count how many rings we have, or how many ribs of heart we have, and figure out where this is. Well, this S we can see is touching this about the center point of this rib right here on the right. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the 8th rib in, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, 8th rib when it comes towards us is the rib that it's going to end on. So this is where we want our card 3D for the Happy Valentines to actually be at a -1 value. All right, so we're just going to scroll up and down on that -1, which puts a keyframe there. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go back that 1 second and count out 8 ribs forward, which that is weird. Okay, that was just a redraw bug. Whew, I was like, that's not right. That's not drawing correctly. All right. So we've got it's taking a second to update. Hopefully that's weird. Anyway, we can see, all right, so we've got 1, 2, I think that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so 407. So it should be that point right there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 back from where we are. All right, so we're going to take this, and at this point we're going to just slowly drop this backwards. We're going to take it back -1. Let's take it back -2. Is that right? 4. I think it was that one. Am I on the right card 3D? Yes, I am. There we go. Not quite far enough. Let's try. I think if we go another one, it's going to be too far, but we're going to give it a shot. Again, I think we want where my mouse is, approximately. It's where that edge of that S ought to be. It's a little too far back, so we're going to drop it down to like -2.8. See where that is. Want to be next to this rib, or it should be touching this rib right here. The edge of the S should be touching that, about the center point of it. It's going to take it a little while. This is the hardest thing. There we go. That's good enough. That is close enough to the center point that I think that works. And so now we've got it touching the center of the rib, so that should be traversing at exactly the same speed when we go forward. So if we, even though we are reducing the overall look, and by the way, this is not, we can see this is not cropping. That is odd. It should be cropping here. Why did that not crop? Something weird is going on here, because let's disable this, because I think this may be causing some confusion to Natron. This is showing an ROD that we shouldn't be seeing. We've got a bigger ROD than we should have. Let's see. We want B, 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 B. All right, this is bounding box. Why is that union? This should have been B. Double click on this. Make sure we double click on these. B, B. There we go. That was what it was. It was the first one. We had the heart was getting uniform mixed with it, which made this whole thing, it's going to make, would have made this draw slower. All right. So, whoops. Let's fit that. There we go. We're looking at this, and with it at 8, let's just take a quick gander at what this is going to do, because all we're going to be doing for the next one, because we've got this already timed out, to do the next part, we just do the exact same thing, but offset in time. So we can literally duplicate this entire node chain that we've just made for the Happy Valentine's text for the next bit of text. But we want to do the actual fading effect in here first. So we'll get that done. And this is drawing a lot slower than I had expected. Oh, we're not doing it at, oh well, we're doing it at the resolution. It's actually drawing, as we can see, at a pretty decent pace, given everything that it's doing. It's this is pretty decent in for 1-to-1, unit. We can sort of see if we drop it back here and look at it, we can see it's moving just on that bit. We can see it's moving approximately, it's not quite, actually we're off. I was too far back. All right. So we want to be 1 unit further forward. So let's go back to that point, which was 25, I believe. Boom. Get back to frame 25, grab our card 3D. I was 1 off on here. So we want to pull this forward. So instead of 2.8, let's try 2.4, half that. Because we know 2 is too far forward. That didn't look like it came forward at all. Or did it? Did it move? Wait a minute. Let's check this 2.8. It's currently here. It's redrawing it. What the heck? Okay, so 2.4, it just redrew it at 2.4. All right, it's just because it's taking too long, or it's taking a long time to do it. Now it's going to shift back. All right, that's 2.8. All right, that's what I thought. So it's going to be like 2.35. Should bring it right up to right about there. That is close enough. All right, for our needs. Let's get a sense of this by just, playing this forward. In fact, we're going to do it at, we're not going to do it at an 1/8. We're going to do it at half resolution. We'll enable that and we'll play this forward. Hopefully we don't have too much lag in this entire thing. And we ought to get a good sense of whether, if this S basically stays on that rib almost the entire time, we're coming in at the proper speed. But we're going to do one other thing that is going to throw it a little off, but it won't look totally off. We want it to follow at the proper speed relative to it when it's going in a linear form. Remember, the tunnel is moving at a linear form, but we're going to be easing this down and slowing it down a little bit. So we do want this to be... so it will look a little bit faster, but because it's going to slow down, it ought to be fine. And it will make sense, or it will look proportionally correct. All right, we should be getting a decent enough speed here. We should have enough here. Oh, it's not playing back at that's not very smooth. Wow, that's actually really cruddy. There we go. But we can see that's looking about like it's moving at about the same speed. That looks really good. All right, so we've matched it in speed so that it's coming at approximately the same speed, but we're going to do one other thing to this, which is we're going to take this, we want to ease the end, so to make it slow down as it gets to the end. So we're going to select this end point here, and we're going to say interpolation, we're going to say we're going to say horizontal. And one other thing we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to say interpolation. We're going to do linear, cardinal rom for the bottom one, which will make it sort of continue onward, backward in time. So if we go further back in time, it will hopefully stay linear with the rest of the animation the further back it goes. But it really doesn't matter because it's not going to even be visible at that point. But in the way that is going to be handled by this mix node. So we're going to be taking this mix node here at frame 25. We're going to tell it that we're going to set a keyframe here for this mix node 17. We're going to set it to 0. We're going to go 1 second forward, put it to 1, a value of 1. So it fades into existence as it comes up. Is that right? Yes, I think it should. Let me think about this. Is that working correct? Let's take a look. Oh, that's a little weird right there. It's redrawing. Huh. For some reason, it looks like it's redrawing a little on the small side, which is little weird to me, but that's probably just it's just a refresh bug, I think, because we're doing this at a slower resolution. It's taking the cached version or something along those lines. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It'll all work when we have this. And by the way, when you change it, even if you change the scale of this, it will still look the same distance because it's traveling at the exact same speed, because even though they're bigger, the distance is actually the same. It's traversing the exact same distance on the card 3D node. So the movement will be identical no matter how big, even though it looks like the space is collapsed. It's a weird visual effect. But that's why you to get it to look like the hearts are bigger, instead of reducing the range of our card 3D node, we scale the actual hearts up. I should have pointed that out. That's an important factor to realize. If you want to change it so it looks like the things are close together, increase the size of your card 3D node, and it will, or not the card 3D, of the scale of the source. That's the best way to get it to work. I think this may be, yeah, it's going to be good enough. We see it's fading in. It looks good. The key point is that we can read it as it's coming in. Now we're not going to do on the fade out. We're actually going to fade it out in a. I'm debating if we want to. Yeah, we're going to fade it out slightly faster. Anyway, I don't want to stand by on this. You can adjust this if you don't like it. Back here, what we want to do is, at this point, the Happy Valentines should be gone. There's no hearts around. So and the problem I have is that if we go back 1 second in time, I think there's still too much. This is where we want the hearts to start to fade out. So what I think we want to do here is we want to tell it that at this point, we want to have this set, have a keyframe set on this for 1. This is where we want it to start to fade out. But I think we're only going to go 12 frames forward. Actually, no. You know what? We are going to do it over 1 second's time, because we want the other to fade in while this is fading out. And right. So I think what we want, let me think about this just a minute. No, we are going to keep it here. We're going to set this. We're going to do it at 12 frames forward. We're going to go 12 frames forward. And at this point, I want the Happy Valentines to disappear, because now the heart, the sky heart, is completely visible at this point, and we're losing this. And so I want it to disappear basically by the time the heart is gone. So we're going to just drop this to 0. And we're going to then go back the 12 frames. And we're going to basically take this entire animation, so everything from here to here, and we're going to copy it. So we're going to select it. We're going to hit Alt-C, which should give us a clone. Oh, except for it creates a problem with our other clones. These 2 clones, which are, it's not a big deal. We'll just delete that and delete that. It's easy enough to duplicate that. We're going to put that there. And this is actually going to be replacing this one. Actually, yeah, yeah, why not? We'll replace this. So we'll put this in here at this point, like so. And then we'll create the rest over here. Before we get to the other, we're going to just look at it over here. We're going to select this text node here that we've duplicated, and we're going to change it from happy. We're not going to actually get rid of those spaces. We're going to put from, and then a colon, and then we're going to take these 2, and we're just going to clone those. So we're going to hit Alt-K. Just gonna push those off in the middle of nowhere. Jeez Louise, it gets further and further away with every single clone. I really don't understand why Natron does that, but whatever, it's minor. It's easy to fix, or easy to track down. You just follow the lines. So then we take those again. For the text, we just unlink that, change this from, and then we make sure everything is deleted. And we put in whatever you want it to say. In our case, we're putting Natron. So, and then we can see that the from is offset too far. And so all we have to do is come down here to our transform node, first of all, because we're at 240 high. We need to, on our transform node for the clone, we need to unlink those two values. We're going to, we need to set an expression on the Y, and we need to say that, oh, we need to pull up the other one. Let's pull this up, and we're going to just control drag that over here. And we're going to just say times -1 plus 100. And when we hit OK, that should set it up correctly. Now, for our from Natron, let's try resetting this to default. Oh, that's too far over. Okay. And then we'll go over to our to the spaces here, and we'll just backspace a couple of those. Let's take out 2 for the time being. And that actually looks pretty good right there. I'm okay with that. We could fine tune it more if we wanted to, but we don't want to waste too much time on this because we want to wrap this up before it gets, to the end of time. And the only thing left is actually setting the offsets for both the card 3D and our merge node. So we'll double click on our card 3D. We're going to set our properties to 2. We're going to shrink this down so we only see that, and we're going to double click on the merge nodes and shrink it down so we only see those, so that only the 2 properties are visible. We're going to go over to our dope sheet, and for this what we're going to do is at the we're going to, let me think about this. We're going to, at frame, we're going to go back 12 frames, I think. Oh, wait a minute. Are we back 12 frames? Is that where we want it? No. Actually, I take it back. We want to go forward here. And we're going to do... Oh, what the heck. We're going to do, for the time being, the same exact thing. We're going to just take everything that we have here, and we're going to just select it all by dragging around both of them. We can see we're grabbing both the transform and the mix node, and we're going to grab it so that the first frame of that happens here at the first frame. And that means by the halfway mark where the other one was fading out, it will, this one will be halfway faded in. So we'll see the end of it. So there will be a little bit of overlap between the two. We're also going to get rid of these last 2 frames by just selecting them and deleting them. And that should, if everything worked right, give us a situation where if we go back to our overall, let's look at this. This is where we are at 97. If we hit play forward, hopefully we shall see that here at the end, we can see that the from Natron is starting to fade in. As that's fading out, hopefully it's starting to fade out. Should be fading out. We might offset this another 12 frames. Not sure if that's going to look as good. Let me double check mine. I just want to make sure that they were at the same time. So it's hard to see it on this. Let me see. I want a card 3D, and I want, excuse me. Let's go to the card 3D and the fade, and then we will bring up the curve editor over there. Well, oh, not the curve, the dope sheet. Let's see. When we go to there, the frame. Interesting. I am doing it at a different time. This is too soon, according to this. So, okay, I'll have it starting in at 150. which means if we go back to the other and go to those two, where did those ones start fading out? Those fade out at... Where's 150? Interesting. Huh. Oh, well, that's all right. It's good enough. I wanted them to be overlapped. I don't think it came across that way. You know what? I don't like that. Nope. That is definitely too fast. All right. We're going to offset it a bit. The key thing is I wanted it, or I had wanted it to fade out. Let me just make sure. Is the fade out happening on 12 frames? 2. Oh, it's so hard to... All right. So we are 97. Yeah, 12. That's... Let me just check something here. 97 to... Interesting. Oh, well. Oh, yes, we offset it. That's right. We're offset. So it should be 97 and 12 frames, right? Wait a minute. Is that... Hold on. I need to just do a quick check on some stuff here. Let's set this to 12. And we're at 90. Wait a minute. We want to be there. All right. So, oops, that should be 12. 5. Yep, 24 frames. All right. So we are doing the correct fade out time. It's the fade in is a little bit off. We want to actually offset that further. All right, so let's go back to these two, this and this. Make sure we have both of those pulled up over here. Go to the dope sheet. According to mine, I actually offset it so that those occurred around closer to 150. It was faded in. So we'll put the mouse over there, grab these, and we'll bring it up so that it ends at 150 and give that a shot. So we'll take a look, see, am I doing the right frames? Hold on, something looks, oh yes, that's right. All right, so here we go. Let's take a look. Let's hit play. And, oh, we're not looking at this correctly. Go back to our node graph. Where are we? We looking at the end? Wait a minute. There we go. All right, we're going to try here. We're just going to hit play. And hopefully we're going to have to watch this at whatever speed this renders at, but it should work well. As soon as this is done, this is pretty much the end. We've got everything cached. We've got the titles in. The skew is not looking as drastic as I remember. You might take the skew up a little bit more. I don't know. You can play with it. For some reason, it doesn't look as skewed up and down or diagonal as I remember doing it. And it looks more skewed over here. Let me just double check those skew values. Over here. I'll just, well, that's rendering. I'm going to just check it over here. Double check that skew. Nope, it says it was done at 0.2. Let me check the other one. And 0.2. So it's right. It just doesn't look right for some reason. Alright, so it's looking good. Let's get this. We're just going to let this render all the way through. I don't know why it's showing an extra keyframe in here at 122, but there's an extra keyframe in there, according to that. The dope sheet's not showing it, but we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to watch it for a few minutes. Let this go through its entire phase where the one fades out and the other one fades in. And we're doing it at half the resolution, but it should give us a good idea of the timing, and we should get a pretty good idea of where this is. And well, you can adjust the timing yourselves And again, remember also that some of the stuff I said for we've offset it in time a little bit, so the tunnel's a little bit longer, or at least it's going back. Oh, 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 oh! We've made it longer. That means in order to make the tunnel longer, we actually have to add more hearts in. That's not hard. It's just kerning it and putting it in. It'll work. It works the exact same way. You might have to adjust the end result a little bit further, because the values will be. Will the values be all that much higher? Well, it could be. You might have to adjust the gain on the hearts if we make it. Wasn't thinking about that. Oh well. You know. Oh. In fact, oh no, it's gonna. Oh, foo. It is going to make it off. Foo, foo, foo. We are gonna, because the whole point behind it is that's how you keep it without making it move further back. But we moved it back. Oh. All right, yeah, you gotta increase the amount. You might even have to offset it by 1 second, and it's several seconds. So probably it's going to mean you have to add like 3 or 4 more hearts, which isn't a big deal. But it does explain a few things. Anyhow, all right. Or you can offset the whole thing, but you know, you can push the whole thing back, and then you don't have. It looks exact same. All right, we've got it back here. We can see the entire transition time. That's feeling a little on the long side to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm. I don't know. I liked it. I like it. I want a little more overlap than I'm seeing there. But anyhow, I don't want to push this on longer than it has to be. We've got it. It's basically the same. It's just a matter of running with the times. I don't know why I'm reading it. You know what? I know why it's off. It's because the reference project I am, it's a rebuild that I made afterwards, and I hadn't really focused on getting the exact timing right. So the timing is a little bit off on this. But, you know, whatever, you can play with it and get it. I think I would drop this back just a smidge more. Maybe I would extend out. Maybe it's because of the length of everything before it, that it feels like it's a little off. I would drop it back, maybe have it end instead of starting on one, or I might have it end on frame 127 or somewhere, or drop it back another. I don't know. Just given opinion. But I definitely think this needs to start a little bit earlier than we have it here, but it's close enough. I might adjust it and re-upload, or for the upload. But we have seen the cool thing. This is pretty much everything. This is the entire effect from beginning to end, or the entire title sequence. And I know this was a long sequence, took 2 episodes, 2 pretty long episodes. But today's goal was, again, this. And I think we don't need to watch it more than once. I think we've achieved it. So thanks for watching, and keep on Natroning.